All right. What is up, business nerds? Happy Thursday morning. I know I'm a Wednesday night sort of guy, but Mel and I just had this brilliant idea and we just couldn't wait. We just had to do it.
Yeah.
Thursday morning it is. Um, and we're kind of popping the hood on Mel's business here, but I get to be the subject. I'm the
Mm.
test dummy. Test dummy's not right because you've done this hundreds of times already. I'm just like in the process, and Mel reached out to me. I've been in the process of setting up a VA with Mel's business, Home Service VA, for probably about a month. And like 99% of the rest of you that are watching this, I'm bad at like executing, which is why I need a VA. I'm like bad at executing the tasks to get all of this stuff done because I'm easily distracted and I got 1,000 things popping up, and hence I know I need a VA. But Mel's business does a really good job of like walking you through and building the framework and building the process. But there's stuff that we as the entrepreneur need to do. Um, and so her and I, Mel reached out to me and was like, "Yo, Dan, I know you need to watch this video and do these sorts of things, and you haven't done it yet. And so you and I are going to jump on a call, and I'm just going to walk you through it." And then she was like, "Hey, while I embarrass you for being behind everything, why don't we just do it so the world can see it?" And I was like, "That's brilliant."
Whole world.
I'm always looking at a reason to go live and do this sort of thing. So Mel's speaking my love language. She knows I like me some attention. But so we wanted to kind of pop the hood, and I've already got some things going. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to Mel because I won't do justice for what I've already accomplished. I have accomplished some things. It's not
so
like
many things.
I haven't done. It's not that I haven't done anything. I just haven't done a lot of things. But like I said, there was a video that I needed to watch that I didn't get to, and so we're like, well, let's just hit the bullet points of that video like live on here, so the rest of you can see what using a VA is like and why you would use Home Service
Absolutely.
VA so you don't have to suck like Dan does. So Mel, my quick bullet point list of what I think I've done so far is I signed up.
Yep, you did that. You did it real good.
I paid the invoice eventually, the setup fee. And then I watched some videos to like set expectations. There's a few videos to watch. And then I filled out a questionnaire of like the things that I believe a VA would do for me and kind of like a ranking system of which ones I think are going to be an immediate priority versus which ones maybe come later, versus which ones maybe I don't even think they would need to work on.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like I'm at. And now I know there's like a whole bunch of other stuff I need to do. And I just didn't get to it because
That's okay. That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, you are not alone in all of that. And so one of the things I want to say, and Zoe, you know what? Zoe is my executive virtual assistant. She helps run my life. I think the joke in the company is I actually need 2 or 3 people to do that because it's a lot. I'm our worst client, I say, because I have too many ideas all the time, too many things. But I'm going to talk about that. So Zoe, you want to start or Dan, you want to start the
Oh yeah. I gotta click the button
to keep me accountable so I can. So I started off in the window cleaning world. I've had a coffee shop. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I got into holiday lights and sold my window cleaning, and then realized I had a lot of space in my life. And so my first full-time virtual assistant was Dean, as you see pictured here. And I missed her when I didn't need her anymore for the businesses. So I said, let's start a business together. And literally we did. And so she literally owns a company in America with me. And we've been building this for 2 years. And what Home Service VA does is kind of, we created what we wished had existed when we first started working together. So I figured it out all on my own. I happen to be good at people. And so it made it easier for me. And I'm very vulnerable, which also made it very easy for me. Not easy, but easier. And I've taken those skills along with Dean's skills, and we've created a system that will ensure your success, essentially. Now, we're not always successful. We're literally, okay, I never say literally, and I've said it 3 times now, so I have to strike that from my vocab today.
Gotta get out the thesaurus.
We figuratively, no. What we try to do is match you with somebody who's going to be a high level support for you, that they're going to complement your personality. And they're going to, and if you do the work on our side, then you're going to be able to be successful with them. that's why I have training videos that I make you watch. I don't let anybody come through our system without watching those training videos, because it doesn't help them be successful. And it's the only way I can know for sure that you're going to be successful with your VA is if you've learned what I want to teach you, which is what you're going to do right now. You're cheating the system. That's
I'm
another.
going, and this is a total Dan thing too, by the way. Not that I get special treatment or that I deserve special treatment. Well, and I think I want to make sure I like use the right words here, but I'm just like that lovable, incompetent person where you're just like, Dan's fun and cute, and we should just like help him along because he's not capable of doing this on his own. Like I feel like
I see right through you, Dan.
It's a sympathy thing. It's a sympathy thing. I'm not trying to like manipulate the situation and get special treatment. You're just like, oh, poor Dan. Like
you're all wrong. You're wrong about that. I mean, I see what the world sees. That thing you just described, absolutely. But also, I know better because I am also like you and all other entrepreneurs who need the urgent shiny thing of like, I need a VA immediately. And then they sign up and then they won't do the work because you're basically hiring an employee and training them to help you. People hate hiring and they hate managing. So what I've done is created a system that tricks people into doing the work the easiest way possible and gets them to be successful. And we're not in, okay, I guess you got to go to the next slide, Zoe. I just realized if I'm not controlling.
By the way, I don't think I didn't introduce Zoe, but Zoe is Melody's executive virtual assistant.
Yes.
Hence why Zoe is here running the slides because
Melody is incapable of doing things on a computer anymore. That's the cool thing about having an executive virtual assistant, especially if you have multiple businesses or you want to go fishing more and hunting like you, Dan.
Oh yeah.
Having somebody who is going to carry the load from my head, the millions of ideas that I get every single day, like where do those things go? If I can get all of that stuff out of me and have somebody else working on it, it allows me to be at my best. But it's also my personal struggle because like most other entrepreneurs, I might think I want freedom, but the minute I get it, I fill up that space again. So I'm not going to go into the deep psychology of it, but it only works when you do the work, right? So a VA is great. It might up level you, but it doesn't mean that your life is going to change. You have to do that part. So what's the difference between HSVA or homeserviceva.com and other aid places? We are actually a recruiter, a matchmaker. And that means that we charge a one-time fee for everything that we do. And what we do is we train you how to train a VA. We set you up for success ahead of time so that the training is done. Basically, we systemize your office for you if you don't have that done already. We teach you all the things that I'm going to teach you right now. We find the right VA for you. We don't even have you interview them. We take full ownership over that process. And then we just show you the candidates and you choose. And you have voice recording, video, all that. But if we're going to take ownership over it, if we let you choose, maybe you're not going to make the right choice. And then we have to.
I'm a terrible chooser. I'm usually pretty good at decision making. And I don't know how to differentiate decision making versus choosing.
It's different.
When it comes to like people and employees, I'm easily biased.
Yes, we all are. I am for my own company.
To people just like me, right? I like, oh, you're just like me. And I don't suck. At least I don't think I suck.
I know.
But I don't always get people that are complimentary. Sometimes I get people that I think are like me, which is like the world needs more of that.
Well, we don't even think about that. Do we need two visionaries in a company? No, we do not. We need a Melody, and then we need somebody who's going to help her to get the stuff going, right? And so most entrepreneurs we work with, a lot of them, they're usually like me. They're super ADD. They're all over the place. They procrastinate on the things they don't want to do, and they make it bigger. Like you've made it bigger than it actually is. Once you get going, most people are like, oh, that was nothing. I've had people wait a year to do the work, and I keep poking them.
Oh, so I'm not even so me being like there too, that's nothing.
You don't win the award. No.
Oh.
But I just had somebody finally on board after a year. and he now has 3 VAs.
Dang,
He
he
did
was
it
like, "This is
so
so good, I
quick.
can't stop."
Yeah, once he saw what it could do, but it took me literally sitting down with him and going through the process and getting him set up.
Mhm.
So let's go to, what does an agency do? An agency manages this person for you. You pay the agency and then they do all the management, but you still have to work with your VA. You still have to train them on stuff, but you have a helping hand. Whereas as a recruiter, we are hiring this person, but they work for you. They don't work for us. And we support you guys. You for a month afterwards, we'll change the VA if we get it wrong or if anything happens. And the VA, we just kind of eternally support. If they need something, they come to us, we'll work it out. In fact, I have somebody right now who started with us, one of our first clients a couple of years ago, and I'm doing a reset in his VA relationship with an office manager that they haven't had great communication. So I'm kind of a business therapist as well. And I've done this a couple times. And this is my favorite part. I love it. The building, the rebuilding of relationships, the building, it's the best.
Yeah.
So we will be having an agency. We're creating the Melody Manager, which is going to be really focused on supporting purpose-driven leaders and especially female leaders. But that's not until summer. We're still having HSBA,
Nice
the
teaser.
recruiter.
Little teaser. Action.
Okay, next slide, please. I don't know. It's all a surprise to me. I thought you'd like this slide. Taxes.
Tax implications.
So a lot of people ask, like, how, like, we hire people from the Philippines because that's where my business partner lives. It's also very Americanized culture, very highly educated people, and the cost of living is a lot lower than here. So one of the cool things is that a VA is not an employee. Technically, they are an independent contractor, which means that they are a tax deduction. You're not paying employment taxes on this. You're not paying the usual things we would pay for employees. And the cost of a VA, like we told you, Dan, that minimum, what we like to do is we like to start people with a living wage. But for an executive virtual assistant, you can find a great one starting at $6 to $7 an hour. You could find somebody at $3 an hour, but they're not going to work for you full time. They're not going to be focused on you because they're going to have multiple jobs. So if you start somebody $7 an hour to help change your life, it's like, would you pay $7 for an hour of your time back? Who wouldn't do that?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, next slide. I'm just going to keep saying next slide.
That's some cheap fishing right there.
Yeah.
For an hour of fishing.
But it's also important to note that.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! That's you and me and a thing.
So that was great. Zoe did that. It's adorable. I love it.
Cool.
It's hilarious. But the other thing that I wanted to say about that is that we are actually supporting people in another country. I know some people are very much about America, but what's happening right now, a lot of us can't find people who can do the work that we need them to do, or we're not good at managing people, or we've never done it, or we don't have an office. There's a lot of reasons why you might need somebody from another place.
I think it's so funny, and it's like there's some hypocrisy in it because I feel like some people are like American made, and our, like, we have a bookkeeping business, and I say it's American made bookkeeping. Like, all of our bookkeepers are in the U.S. and there's some value to that. And I think in the home service space, we have a lot of like blue collar people that are flying their American flags, and I do appreciate that. But the same people are also saying nobody wants to work anymore.
Yeah,
and I'm like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that job. Like, everybody everybody likes to say kids these days don't want to work. No, they don't want to work in your business.
Yes, absolutely.
They want to work on computers, and they want to work on like technological stuff. They don't want to be out cleaning windows, or like, not everybody, right?
There's still plenty of handy people, you're not getting the right people, and that's the other part of it. But what I will say about the Filipinos is they are very hardworking, and everybody we hire has a college degree. They're highly educated, and so you're getting a much higher caliber of person, people who are proactive thinkers, people who have a lot of different skill sets and probably love the office work that you hate doing, you know? So they really can be your full, like, Zoe manages all my emails. She manages my calendar. I don't go in my inbox ever. If I can help it, I don't want to see emails. Do you know what that means? I was an addict before. I don't care anymore. you know?
I need that. I think that I put that as like my number one urgent thing was to
'Cause
turn
it's
over my calendar in my inbox.
it's the thing that is
Stressful.
gonna give you the most time back quickly, right?
Mhm.
So let's go. We already did.
I mean, I mentioned this. I think before we went live, like the last 3 days, I've been just like stuck with an infant at home.
Yes.
My 11-month-old had hand, foot, and mouth disease, and so I'm like trying to take care of him. I fell so far behind on emails and communications,
Yeah.
like and things that I can't afford to necessarily fall behind on.
And then
Like
it's
somebody's
in
got to
your,
be.
yeah,
It's just like
doesn't
eats
feel
at you.
good.
Yeah.
So we also give you and all of the VAs DISC assessments and that we use when we onboard you to integrate you guys. So that's the cool thing I love the most is that when we onboard you with the VA that you choose, I am going to deep dive on how you best can communicate with each other. I'm going to pick apart some of the strengths and weaknesses so that I can literally say to the VA, hey, when Dan does this, this is what's really happening and you're
Mhm.
going to want to do this thing. So that first month when you're trying to figure somebody out, I want to get rid of that. I want to condense the amount of time it takes for you to develop that close working relationship. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Next, please.
Yeah, I got to do a disc. I think that's probably on my to-do list is to do a disc, right?
It doesn't take, it takes like 2
No, I was
seconds.
gonna say I've done them before, but it's probably worth doing.
You need to do it with ours because that's how we do the integration with a
Yeah.
certain kind of disk. You can go to the next thing because I think I said this already. We're kind of doing it real time. Okay, next slide. We're going to talk about training, I guess, because that's what the slide says. So, why should your VA be smarter than you? And this is specifically when we work with you, all of those things that you put on the questionnaire, the assessment that you took, we flip that into a training plan. So everything that you said was an urgent need, we put onto a training plan for you. So do you have his training plan that we can pull up?
Sweet.
And what we end up doing, and can you go to the second page or training plan 1? Yeah. So these are actually, that's not bad. This is what you chose. Usually some people have like dozens.
Can you zoom in on that?
Yeah, zoom in a little bit. So your main things to begin with are things about the business. These are videos that actually I didn't talk about that. What you're going to do is have a list, and we're going to add to this list because it's a little smaller than I would like it to be. But we're going to add a little bit to this list. Any software that you use that you'll want them to know, I will explain that in a minute. But you're going to create very short, simple videos. And in Loom, I suggest Loom software because you can just copy the link and paste it right into where it says video link. And now you have a training video for your new virtual assistant. And all you have to do is do what I'm doing to you. I'm just talking at you. You're going to just talk at them, tell them about what you do, what your life is like, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to add a couple videos here to the top where it says about your business. It really should be about you. You have kids, you have a wife. Like, you want to talk about be vulnerable about your weaker areas so that they can support you with their strengths. And that's the goal. So once you have that, where you've got a video that explains all this stuff, what happens? How do you know if they actually know they watched the video? Well, they're going to take that video, they're going to watch it, and they're going to document it with a process sheet. It's a very simple sheet, a form that we have. And what it does is they just bullet point everything you said in the video so that you can go and look at that process sheet and say, okay, they got what I was trying to say, or, oh, no, this is not what I meant to say. And let's say there's 10 process sheets and 9 times out of 10, they got it right. You probably made a mistake in your how you talked about it. So you're going to go over it more with them. But if 9 times out of 10, their process sheet makes no sense to you, they're not the right VA for you. So it's an easy way to measure what they're doing or what they understand. And it's also now systemizing your business with a video and a written document.
Yeah.
So and we make everybody do this before their VA is onboarded, because what happens every single day of the week with every business owner, we say,
a lot of distractions.
I'm going to train them when they come on. I don't need to watch these. I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
No, you're going to have a huge fire happen the first day that they come on, and they will be stuck with nothing to do, and you're going to feel awful. And then day 2, the same thing will happen. And eventually you ghost them. that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Or they get resentful. So what
Mhm.
I know is that if we have training in place before they onboard, they will be successful, whether you can show up for them or not. They're going to train themselves. What about email and like, how do you teach somebody to understand how you write emails? That's not something you can teach people.
Especially the way I write emails.
Exactly. Well, actually, you can, using my special Melody patented process that I'm very proud that I created. As I said, I'm ADD and I'm always looking for ways to not do things myself. And when you're teaching somebody how to do something, like if we went and taught somebody how to do our emails, and what would happen, we would be saying, this is how I send emails. And you'd be typing an email up while they watch you and then explaining all of the different reasons why you wouldn't send it this way for other circumstances, confusing them because you just want to do a basic overview first, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I give them access to my inbox.
Yeah.
They study your emails. You've already written everything. They study it. They look for those common types of emails that you respond, whether it's to like a client that you're always having to respond the same way. Every time that an issue comes up that you've solved by email, they add that to a troubleshooting guide, a troubleshooting template guide. Every time they find a question that you've answered, they add that to an FAQ guide. So they are creating basically email templates that they'll be able to use using your words. But that's not.
Which is good because I use a lot of funny words.
Yes. So what you're going to do, they're going to send you all of those templates. You're not going to touch them. You're not going to change them. You want them to have ownership over this. You're just going to make a Loom video and say, hey, these look great. This one, usually I wouldn't have responded this way. This was a one-time circumstance. So why don't you go look for the one that I wrote to this guy, because I know that's more accurate to what I usually would say. You're going to go over each template with them. It probably takes 5 to 10 minutes in a video. Mm-hmm. You're going to explain how to change it, send it to them, that little video link. They're going to make the changes themselves. And you keep doing that back and forth until you have perfect templates where you can be like, wow, they sound like me. Mm-hmm. They're never going to send the email as you. They're always going to say like, hi, this is Mel's EVA Zoe. You know, they don't want to sound like you, but they're going to message just like you. I used to have them sign my name, and then issues would come up when I'd see somebody and they'd be like, yeah, so as we talked about in the email, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait.
Yeah. So what that means is they are now ready to start drafting your emails for you, and you're not going to worry about whether they're saying the right things or wrong things. And you're going to do the same process. They draft, you look in the inbox, make a quick video to say what changes need to be made. With home service, having had a home service company and being in one for over, about 30 years, I know that it's always scheduling appointments can be hard, dates, figuring out all that kind of stuff can be hard if that's the thing you want them to do. Mm-hmm. But that's how you teach them. You explain things in a video, explain why that date won't work, which dates would work, and they're going to learn over time. They're going to take note of this, and it's going to be added kind of to their training.
Yep.
When they are about 80 to 90% accurate with your email templates or drafts, and the other times they're saying, hey, Dan, I think you need to deal with this, or I think that, I don't know how to handle this one. They're ready to start sending your emails for you, and you'll trust them.
Is email generally like the first starting point? Like
I would.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I imagine like for a lot of people that use home service VA, that's kind of like the first thing where you're like, just for the love of God, get this communication.
I recommend it. I recommend it because it keeps you hostage. It holds you hostage. You are always looking to see new messages coming in. It releases you from that burden. And when you're looking at emails every 5 minutes all the time, you're not able to focus. Mm-hmm. And letting that go is really a big area of focus. It frees you up a lot mentally.
How often do you look at your email then? Like once a week or once a day or
never? Try, like I said, so sometimes at night I'll have to send something. Zoe doesn't work 24 hours a day. So sometimes, like yesterday night, I was like, oh crap, I forgot to do this thing. But so I'll go in and look sometimes, but on my phone, I can't see my inbox the same way that we see it on the computer. So I don't even bother. I trust Zoe enough to respond to the things, and I'll check maybe once a week.
Okay.
But it's only if something maybe comes up that remember I have to do, or she says. And the other thing that I want to say is we use Slack for communication in our company. When there are emails, like I struggle. I'll sit there and just like think of every word I want to write the way I want to write it sometimes, because email can be hard. So I'll ask Zoe, hey, can you draft this for me? I want to tell Dan that I really think he's a great guy and I hope that he catches all the fish. But I also hope that he doesn't go hunting anymore. You know, guys, I'm just making a weird example to say, like, so she'll write it out for me. And then I'm much better at editing somebody else's words. I'll be like, no, this isn't right. And then I'll know exactly how to write it than starting my own, do you know?
Yeah,
And so either she can just send it for me, or if it's a little more delicate, I'll go and I'll edit it. I'll even just go into my notes. I prefer never to go into my email whenever possible because I'll get sucked in. So I'll even just go in my notes and copy and paste something from her words and switch it around. So that works pretty well. Zoe, would you agree with me?
100%.
You'll get your paycheck next week, I promise now.
So this is like a funny observation, but I've never met Zoe before, and I would say her English is 20% better than mine.
So it's awesome.
I think that's fair to say.
Filipinos, I didn't know this before I started working with them, but Filipinos learn American English in school. So there are a lot of people who speak really great English. You can find some people with a thicker accent or more neutral accent, but they write more formally than is that a word? Formally?
See, I bet Zoe would have known what that word is without even hesitating.
But they write more formally. So I have to do a lot of like, do not use the word. What is my least favorite word that everybody uses? It's
avail.
Avail. Everybody writes avail in the Philippines. Like, I shall avail you of our services or whatever. And I'm like, we never say that here. I've stricken it from our.
I'm going to start saying it. Nobody says stricken either, Mel. Come on.
I say it all the time. It's my favorite word.
No, you just said it now.
Well,
you say it literally all the time, though.
Literally, I do.
You literally say literally all the time.
So, but there are things like in the beginning where you have to really focus in on the wording. So like in the beginning, social media management, like if you want them to post stuff, that was a hard one in the beginning for me to figure out. Now I will make another announcement that you're getting a preview of my secret that I said I was going to tell people today.
Yeah.
Which is that I've been studying with somebody to become a certified AI persona creator. So I'm not usually somebody who talks about tech at all because I don't want to ever say I'm an expert at anything. I'm not. But I have learned how to create personas for your business that are going to act as you in such a detailed way. And I've really worked at honing it so that I can now help VAs. And this is for our agency and for home service VA. The whole point of it is I want to be able to enable people, VAs, to have access to the capabilities of AI and have them trained so that they can kind of download your brain without you needing to be there, and they'll be much more accurate at everything you do. I even trained the AI to act as a EOS implementer for me.
Oh, that's super cool.
So many cool things you can do with this. So that's something that I'm going to be pushing moving forward a lot. I just haven't wanted to talk about it because it's just another thing on the list of things I'm always doing.
Good thing you have a team of VAs to help you execute on that.
Well, yes, I still had to do the work, which is, but I haven't, I just have to take the exam or whatever. And really, it doesn't matter if you're certified or not certified. It's really about learning the skill set that this guy has taught me. It's amazing. So that's what we're going to be doing in the future. So it might be that a VA doesn't write as well. They might write too formally. When we train it to be AI Dan and talk like Dan, they're going to be writing social media posts that sound like Dan. And you can, in the beginning, are probably going to have to look and make sure it's what you want, but they're going to be looking at using your history as a way to train AI. They're going to be using emails as a way to train AI. Like they're going to be taking your words and you don't have to do much work because they'll already have access to the things they need to train it to do what you do.
Yeah.
And then you won't have to worry about it anymore. So I'm excited for this. There's a lot of ways that we can utilize it with VAs that will just up-level their skills immediately.
I'm down.
So
Hey,
anyway,
I gotta interject here. We got a few comments coming in. David Mulcahy says, "Love that AI persona method. Doing it right
yes.
now. It's amazing.
Isn't it amazing, Dave? I'm glad he and I work with the same person. I love it. Yeah, it's really cool.
T Gianni says, "Love that.
Sweet.
We have to talk about that."
Absolutely.
So she's interested. And
Yay.
our buddy Zach Marker says, "Dan and Mel, my two favorite service providers in the home service industry."
He says that to all the guys and gals.
Even if he does, I still like him.
I like him.
Yeah.
He's my favorite person in Philadelphia who does Christmas lights, who's having a baby. That he's my favorite one.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Doug Brown chimed in too and said, "Let's go live on Turf's Up." I don't know if there's a show on Turf's Up right now or not. So I did go live on the radio. And yesterday, when I usually have my radio show, my stuff wasn't working. Like everybody could hear me, but they couldn't hear. We did a trivia show. They couldn't hear everybody that was on the show. So we just made a normal episode anyway. So Doug, I would have, but I don't even trust. I don't know why my stuff isn't working the way it's supposed
Technology, you know?
Yep. I don't know.
So this is what we create for you. When you took that assessment, instead of you having to think of every task that a VA could do, like, how do you know? And
yeah,
it's also,
I love that breakdown.
I created it that way because I created it for me. I know what I wouldn't write down everything because I wouldn't want to think about it because it's like deep thinking about the tasks I do that I don't like to do that take up a lot of time. So I created that assessment specifically to help people not have to think. You just
need to choose.
You just choose. You think about what's urgent, like immediate. Then you think of the next level of tasks. Once they've mastered those first level, what's the next level? And then you think of projects. That's how I think about it. I'm actually changing up the form to make that more evident. But because they can do projects when they're not busy with other things. And that's the cool thing. Like they can organize your Google Drive when they have time in their day. It doesn't have to be like that they're doing that every day, right?
Yep.
So this is what comes out of that. The other thing that comes out of it is our do you have a copy of a job offer? So we write a job description and a job offer based on the things you tell us about what you want and what your company wants. So we figure out, we asked you, what time do you want them to work in the day? What time, what day do they get paid? How much do you want to start them at? Do they get vacation time? Like we go through everything that we have to think about when hiring, and it's all questions. And if you don't know what it is, I say right on the form, don't leave it blank. We'll ask you about it later. And so that is the main part of your work in the beginning. And then we start recruiting off of what you've told us. So while we're doing our work, you are watching 90 minutes of videos that I worked really hard to create. And as I say in the videos, I hate making videos. So I said, it's as hard as it is. It's as hard for me as it is for you to watch these.
The funny thing for me, and so that was in the process, that's where I kind of got hung up was I was having a hard time. And here's the stupid thing. And this is what you did a great job of calling me out. You're like, Dan, I see you on social media all the time and you're live for hours at a clip. Like, I'm pretty sure you have 60 minutes to like get through this next video. And I was like, I do. But then like,
to be clear, Dan,
but then
they're 5 minute to 10 minute videos. Sometimes they're 1 minute videos. So it's a bunch of videos. But that's the part that I wouldn't want to do either. Honestly, like I don't want to. So I tried to make them as entertaining and melody.
Ooh,
you'll be my best friend after. Everybody feels like they really know who I am after. And I made them very imperfectly, specifically so that you would feel good about making your own videos imperfectly, not because I didn't want to take the time to do it right.
Yeah.
So
good strategy. Good strategy.
So let's move on to the next slide. I'm kind of going out of order, so I did this. Oh, this is the one that I was going to talk about that I didn't. But let me go back to why your VA should be smarter than you. Another cheat that I do is, you know how you have to tell them how to do your software training? Like you need to teach them everything that you do with software, how you enter people into your blah, blah, blah. Why would we make them do that? Software companies have such better training systems already, training videos than we have. So we literally find out what your software training is or software that you use it. And then we put those videos right into your training plan. So you don't even have to deal with it. So they should have a better, like most people who are business owners will learn the software. It might be this good, but we learn it up to here. And
we learn about 10% of it. And we're like, it does what I needed to do. Okay,
yes.
bye.
And then we move on. A VA, you can take the time with them to let them learn as much as you want them to learn. They can become an expert if you want them to. Now they're solving your software issues. They're not asking you questions about the software.
Yeah,
Now
they're
you're
asking the
asking
software
them
company.
questions.
Yeah.
Right. They now are the person who controls, like, you don't have to worry because you're never going to, we sometimes think that we need to train people all the hard things we learned the hard way because we're hard-headed, when really there are resources everywhere that would make it so that we don't have to do much work. And so it's the same thing for, like, let's say you want somebody to do a task that you're not sure how to do yourself. Well, what I used to do is I would try to figure out how to do the task, learn how to do it, and then tell them how to do it. Now what I do is I say, hey, I would just make a quick video that says, hey, I want to learn how to optimize our Google page, but I have no idea how to do that. Can you go and do some research and figure out how we can do that and then come back to me with a plan? Now I've just told them what I want, what the project is. I didn't say like any directions, except I gave them the ability to go and do some research. When they come back, they should have enough for me to be able to help make a decision with them, but I'm also enabling them to have ownership over that task. And that's very important with training. When you micromanage people, part of the reason that happens, you, Dan, not anybody else, just you, no.
Yeah.
But when we micromanage people, the reason it happens is because we train people the way we were trained. We train people without thinking that about all the different ways people learn. And so what I like to think about when we're training is saying it from our mouth, and they're watching us say it from our mouth, writing, creating videos, doing the actual task, touching, feeling, smelling, you know, all the things.
Get senses involved.
Yeah, get as many of their senses involved, because when we don't do that, they don't do it the way that we do it. And then we take more control because we're like, oh, I don't think I can trust them. I'm going to give them more specific information. And maybe they're slow. And so but really it's us. We're always the problem unless they're really not. If we hire right, we're usually the bottleneck. We're usually the problem. So giving control and ownership is very important. Next slide, please. Yeah, I already talked about training versus live training. Don't do live training whenever possible. I already did this one too. See, I'm just going all over the place.
Yes, but it's free flowing. It's free flowing.
Yeah, next one.
Good.
And what I do want to say about live training, you will do live trainings. You do want to meet with your VA after when they start, but you don't want to rely on that. So by the time they've done all the training videos, they've watched the software videos, they've figured a lot of stuff out, you want to only be, they're at a good general basic knowledge level at that point. And then you can start being more specific. You don't have to start from the bottom. So let's talk about compensation. We did talk about compensation a little bit. For a general VA who's going to be like an office admin type person, we usually hire 2 or 3 different kinds. We hire a general VA office admin. We hire an executive assistant for people who have a lot on their plate. If you have 2 businesses, you probably need an executive assistant. If you have a big family and you like them, probably need an executive assistant, because Zoe doesn't just help me with keeping track of business things. She also made a dog grooming appointment for me today. And like she does a lot of other things for me personally. And that's the benefit of having an executive assistant. They're helping you hold the weight of your life so that your family still likes you and doesn't resent you if you're doing it right. I don't always do it right, but so money is one way to compensate. Another thing that we talk about is 13th month. So in the Philippines, they have a mandated holiday for anybody who works for companies where they're paid 1/12, so like a month's pay on around Christmas time as a bonus, but it's a mandatory bonus. And it can be cut up. Like if they start in June, it would be like 6/12. I'm not good with the math, but you know, it's prorated.
You were really close. You were super good.
Yeah, so it's prorated, but we don't have stuff. I think a lot of entrepreneurs almost feel like that thing inside, like nobody's going to tell me what to do. And so even though we have our own rules, but I think of it as like a Christmas bonus almost.
Yeah.
Like it's
Holiday
really
bonus.
important. The Philippines, Christmas starts in September. No joke. Is it around September, Zoe? They start celebrating and
sounds about like
in
bow hunting
September.
season. Sounds like bow hunting season. Starts in September generally.
Yeah. Well, they like take it very seriously. And so we want to support them. a lot of times Filipinos are not just supporting themselves, they're supporting their extended family. So even though it's a living wage, $6 or $7, it might sometimes not be enough because they're supporting their grandma and their parents and, so there's a lot of ways you can give them benefits. We always recommend giving them Good Friday, Christmas, and New Year's off paid.
Mhm.
And it's always nice if you think of it the way that you hire your employees and the benefits you give them, you want to do something equal. You want to kind of try to keep it equal. Now, there's no Thanksgiving in the Philippines. So maybe you want them to work on projects on Thanksgiving. I actually found it stressful to have somebody working on Thanksgiving because I don't want to answer questions and I don't want to think about work. But, if you pay everybody else, you might as well pay them for a week off. We do a week off between Christmas and New Year's paid. So just like any employee, there it is.
I'm gonna drop this question in because this is relevant right now. Doug Brown says, if they are a subcontractor, why do we offer them vacation time?
Because they act as your employee.
I was gonna say, I think the subcontractor thing is just nuanced because
yes,
they're in
absolutely.
the Philippines, and so you're treating them like an employee. You just have the benefit of being able to call them a subcontractor, which saves you a bunch of money on payroll taxes.
Yeah,
so you get your cake and you eat it too.
Absolutely. I want to make that clear because it does get confusing to people. They're not an independent contractor. In the eyes of American law, they are working for you at certain hours. They're doing the work when you want them to. They're your employee. Mm-hmm. But America has an agreement with the Philippines. They're independent contractors. So it's just cake and eat it too. Exactly. So we talked about the 13th month. So you can do 13th month or you can do holiday pay. Most people, when they really work well with the VA and they get them onboarded and they see how much they can do for them, they'll give them the world, because they're changing your life. And you want to think about your budget with them ahead of time, and you can think of it as a bonus. We usually say that give it a 30-day training period. And then after that 30 days, give them a little bump in their pay. 50 cents an hour is a big deal, or $1 an hour. If you start at 6, bring them up to 7. But if they're going to be good at their job, you're going to want to show them that you care, just like any other employee. Mm-hmm. I recommend you bring them into your company meetings with you. You make sure that they feel like a part of your team. And that's going to develop the loyalty that you really want. Filipinos are so loyal as a people.
Yeah. So as far as like how to involve them, one of the things I had been thinking is, I have leadership team meetings that I run. Yeah. I have manager meetings that I participate in. And
bring them in everything you do.
I was gonna say, I kind of want them there because I don't take notes. Yes. Like I scribble some stuff down every once in a while, but like I literally, in my mind, they'd be like my handler. Like they would be like, hey Dan, remember you need to do this so that this person can do that, and then I'm going to take care of this and this and this and this for you.
So so when Zoe comes into a meeting, when I'm talking to like a prospect or a client, I make a lot of promises, and I mean every promise when I'm in that meeting. And I'm like, one-on-one, I'm not thinking of, if I was doing notes, you would feel like I was distracted the whole time. And so when I make those promises, immediately when I go to the next Zoom, I've forgotten everything I've said because I'm focused on the next. So Zoe's job is to make sure those promises actually happen, because they're usually like, I'm going to send you this document, or I'm going to do this task.
Yep.
And that's how I make sure it happens. I need somebody to hold me accountable and remind me. So she keeps my master list. Okay, let's go to the next one because I want to make sure I get through as much as possible. Cultural training next. Thank you. So here's the cool things about Filipinos. They are.
Hey, I got a question.
Yes.
Why is it the Philippines spelled with a PH? And then when you say Filipino people, you switch it to an F. What's up with that?
Zoe, what's up with that?
I am actually not sure. I think it's the pronunciation. It's weird if it's PH, Filipino. I'm not sure.
It's one of those things.
Hey, yeah. That's just me being a good show host and asking a good question is all that is.
That was important. I actually spelled it wrong for a long time until Zeke, actually, our friend Zeke was the one who told me, like, they're going to get mad at you if you spell it that way. I was like, they are? And then I asked Dean, she's like, no, just it's spelled the other way.
Yeah.
So they're very positive people.
I think actually what it is, especially because they're, quite Americanized.
Yeah.
That's a total American thing to just totally like Oh, we spell it this way. Just kidding. We spell it this way when
Yep.
it's used this way. It's a super American, English type of thing.
Oh, that's another weird thing about English, that Filipinos sometimes struggle with the tenses of people, because I don't think they have he, she verbiage. Is that right, Zoe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't have like, it's more like they
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it's, if we're talking about he and she, sometimes they mix those up, but that's what AI training is great for.
Hey, you know what? The U.S. is going down
I
that
was gonna
path
make a
where
joke.
everybody's a
I
they,
was
so
like,
that
they're
works
way
great.
ahead of, most countries are way ahead of us on this.
Mhm.
So here's the thing, very proficient in very, very literate. All of our, I can't think of people who don't hold degrees that we hire, because most people are very educated, have college degrees. But they're very shy in general, like they're not confrontational. And you have to give them a lot of permission to, especially as an executive virtual assistant. A lot of times we think of us as Americans, we just think they're gonna, even because they talk like us, that they're gonna be like us. But they're not always, until you give them permission to take ownership in your life, and continuous permission. That's why I started the Melody Manager, and why it's called the Melody Manager is because I started joking to my EVAs, or executive virtual assistant, like, listen, you're the Melody Manager. You have to manage me and make sure that I do all the things I'm supposed to do. I am not your manager. You are my manager. So
Yeah, I
making it
hired you
more
to manage me.
yeah, you're more of a partner, and not like, because in the Philippines, the employee is here, or the employer's here, the
Yeah, it's
employee's here.
hierarchical. Yep.
It's very hierarchical. So you have to kind of beat it out of them. And then when you develop that partnership, it's like you just fly. And some people are good at it right from the start. Others need a little more encouragement.
I like trait number one there, that Filipinos have a positive outlook, because
Very.
core value number one here at Blue Skies, positive attitude.
Good vibes. Yeah.
Mhm,
And it really is true. I was in the Philippines a month ago, and I loved it. Everybody is so nice. So, and I keep saying this to everybody I meet, but everybody sings. We have such a shame culture around singing in America, and it's all about whether
I
you
know
have a
every
good
time
voice.
we hang out, you make me do friggin' karaoke.
Trying, because it's like, why are we afraid of the voice that is inside of us? That's a weird thing to me, and it's something I push myself to do, even though I have a good voice, I will admit, but I'm stage fright. So I always push myself to do it. And it feels like a great challenge for most people.
I don't have any issue I'll get up in front of 1,000 people with a microphone, right? And talk. I don't have an issue with my voice, but I do have an issue with singing.
That's your voice too.
Yeah, it's just a different sort of, because I never do it, right?
Right. Why is that? That's a weird
know.
thing to me. So it's crazy. We have that shame culture here.
Yeah.
Philippines, everybody sings. It was amazing.
Mhm.
And nobody cares. Like, they just support, it's fun. I love it. So it's the first place I didn't feel shame about singing, and I hadn't realized how much shame I feel here.
You give me a 12-pack of beer and I don't feel any shame. Sing anything. Go.
Yes, I am quite sure that is true. Can we go to the next slide, please? Communication. Next is best practices for communication. Can you see if is Slack the next thing? Because that's basically what I'm going to talk about.
We don't use Slack. Is that a problem? Should we start using Slack?
I fought Slack for a long time.
I can't even figure out how to open it up, Mel. I'm like Slack
that
illiterate.
is what a virtual assistant is for. They can set that up for you. But so the first thing I want to say about daily communication, you want to be communicating with your VA a lot. In the beginning, a mistake that people make is they won't communicate more than like once a week. Sometimes with VAs, there's a complete disconnect. And just like with any employee, they have to be held accountable to the work they're doing. It's very easy for somebody to feel like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Why am I wasting my time? Because there's a time difference. They're staying up all night to do the work that we ask them to do. So it's hard. If they are not doing anything for you, but once in a blue moon, they might get a second job because they're like, it doesn't matter. But if you hold them accountable, people have a lot of integrity there. Establish a daily communication routine. I'm always in contact with Zoe and my team through Slack. And the reason I like Slack is because we have lots of different ways to communicate on there. you want to make sure also that you have an end of day channel. So one of the things is, how do you know if your VA is doing the work? I don't like to micromanage people. There are time apps that you can get that will show you screenshots of the work they're doing, but I don't like that. It's kind of like starting your relationship with no trust. What I do like is having everybody write in the same Slack channel what they completed at the end of the day, links to every document that they created right in that end of day list. And you can really see what people are doing. It's very transparent, and they'll take the time and they'll write it out. It might take 10 minutes of their day to really make a good list, but then you're kind of holding them accountable. If you never ask for that, or if it's not a part of your routine, you're not going to get it. And then later, when there's a trust issue, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't know what they're doing all day. Are they even doing anything? And that's when trust starts to go away. So starting right away with that, after 2 weeks, you don't have to talk to them all the time or even every day, but the standard will be like evident at that point. It'll be established. And then culture takes over, right? That I don't remember who says that, but whatever you do in those first couple weeks, or if you don't do anything, that's going to be what happens for the rest of the time. It is really hard to reset a relationship with the VA after, because there are feelings at that point involved. And the first time that you don't do what you say you're going to do in that reset, it's going to backslide right back to what it was. Okay, go to the next slide, please, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Keep going. Tracking. I did this one just now. So we just have a fun chat that's everybody checks in first thing in the morning and says good morning to everybody. That's how I.
So what time are your VAs working? Are they working when you're working? So it's kind of overnight for them, or do you have them work during their daytime? So that's their daytime, or
I have them working on my time, and most people do. You have to think about it like this. In the Philippines, you can spend an hour and a half in traffic going to a job where you're going to work 10 hours and then an hour and a half back home for very little pay. Or you can work from home. You can work all night, still have time for your kids during the day or whoever to have your own life. So they're making a choice to work overnights. I used to feel very guilty about this, and now I understand it's just a way of life. And it allows them a better life.
Yeah, I felt weird about that. I think even on your questionnaire that I filled out, it asked like, what are your expectations from time? And I was like, I don't want to make them work overnight. Like, I think, and this was my thought is, for me, the big thing is like, when I jump on a computer in the morning, I want things to be caught up. So I could see them working like a few hours before, and I'm usually up and at it and like on the computer by like 6 a.m. So I could see them maybe jumping on at like 4 a.m. doing a bunch of stuff and then overlapping with me in the morning. And then by the afternoon, I don't really need.
That's perfect. You might change your mind too, and that's okay, because you guys can.
I never change my mind. No, you're right. Sometimes I do. Okay.
But I used to
get
have
it. That was a joke. Do you get it? Did you get that? That was a joke.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, I did. As much as Zoe did. Yeah, we laughed like crazy. It was a real joke.
Sweet.
So with that though, I used to have my VA come about start an hour before me, because like you, I want my emails to be ready. I want a list of all the things that are, ready to go, like everything's up to date. So I have like a fresh start. And what I used to do is I would spend 10 hours in the morning on email, and suddenly it's noon, which is weird math, but it works.
Yeah.
In Melody's world.
So you start working at 2 a.m. Sounds good.
Yep. And then I suddenly am like, where did all my time go? And my brain is so nice in the morning. I can do anything. And then once 12-1 hits, like I'm dead.
All I'm good for in the afternoon is making some shows and drinking some beer.
Right. And so what I found though, is that a lot of my time now is spent doing things in the afternoon. So I'm starting now I don't actually have a real start. To be honest, I'm guided by my feelings sometimes, but Zoe always you start at 9, right? Yeah. Everybody else in our team starts at 8. She starts at 9 because I want her to be there till 5. And so that helps me at the end of the day, when suddenly I remember all the things I forgot to talk about or do that day. She can like quickly help me get it all together. So it's not an emergency. So it's really a personal choice. But you can always adjust it as time goes on. VAs, as long as you are saying up front, like, this may change, but let's try it like this for 30 days and see how it goes. Or like one of the questions we asked, do you think there'll be overtime? Most people will be like, I don't think so. But when I started with Dean in the beginning, I said, I don't think I'll have more than 20 hours of work for you a week. And within 3 weeks, she was working 50 hours a week. Once I saw what she could do, it opened my brain and I was like, everything,
Yeah.
So,
oh, and what about this? And how about
yes.
this? And here's another thing that you might like to do.
Because your brain is going to open up once your calendar, once your emails are out of the way and you have more space to think. Suddenly your ideas are going to, you're going to have less of that drain, which, by the way, again, I still experience all of the same things, even with an EVA, even with a team, and we're helping other people do this. If you want to experience that freedom, you have to do the work. I'm in the middle of the work. So, but it really helps. So let's go to the next one, because I did say tracking the time. Documenting, we already did that one. That's what they're going to do for you. Software. So I think we already did this too, but keep going. Let's just run through and see what's here. I already talked about Loom. I love Loom. There are other software, screen recording. LastPass. A lot of people are worried about security. We use LastPass to give passwords to our VAs and to anybody. And we recommend clients do that for a couple of reasons. One, if you just give them your passwords, let's say you have to fire them quick because they turn out to be not what you thought they were, let's say. In LastPass, you can literally just quickly unclick their access and it's done. They're out. Whereas in the past, you would have had to change every password, figure out which ones you sent. We actually send you a sheet when you're getting started so that you can make a note of what you give them access to, just so you have it. And it's also in LastPass, but it's something you want to be thinking about. But the other reason is, let's say they have to bring their computer to the shop to get it repaired. Like you don't want your information to be available on that computer. So it's just like security we would need to think about with our in-house employees, actually. Just because somebody's in-house doesn't mean that they're trustworthy. We have the same ability to trust or not trust somebody. I mean, it's earned. And so that first 30 days, you're really going to be able to see whether you can trust them and test it out. But I love LastPass because I can't remember any passwords. The only one I remember is the LastPass password, because that's the only one I need to remember. Hopefully, yes. And so the next one is Slack, maybe? I'm just taking guesses. Yes, Slack. So let's go to the next one. Oh, Wise. Okay, well, let me talk about Slack. There are a couple, the way Slack works is, Zoe, can you do me a favor and go into our get the Slack cheat sheet from our Canva? It's I want to show that. But meanwhile, I'm going to talk about Wise. How do you pay somebody who's out of the country? So you can't really run their payroll. And Dan, you might be able to help me on this. I've never ran somebody's payroll through the payroll companies because I don't think a lot of payroll companies can do international, or it's going to have a big fee.
Gusto has started. We used to pay because I have Jairus, who's our producer for the show.
Yeah,
he's in the Philippines. We paid him for a long time through PayPal, and then PayPal started charging fees on it
a lot. Yeah,
and then we actually hired a bookkeeping subcontractor in Canada, and so we needed to figure out how to pay them, and we figured it out in Gusto, and then we realized we could have been paying Jairus through Gusto the whole time.
Gusto does that now. That's awesome.
Gusto does that.
Do they charge a fee?
Because we're a Gusto partner, our payroll ends up being free because we're a Gusto partner, and so I don't know what echelon of Gusto you need to be in to be able to pay independent contractors overseas. So I don't know if you can do it at the lower level or if you got to be at the higher level. We just happen to be at the higher level because we have the bookkeeping business. But that's what we use to pay overseas now.
So we write the expense in it's in QuickBooks, but we use Wise, which is a international payment method. Very safe, very secure, and they have very low fees. And it goes directly from your bank account to their bank account. So it's a very quick transaction. Nice. I would say most of the transactions we do are under like $2 or $3. So every time you're paying your employee, you have to add up the fee into that pay so that they're getting the actual amount that they need to be paid. You have to take that fee, but it's a little thing, but it's something that we might not think about, like, oh, $3, who cares? Well, that's half an hour of their pay. So, but here, I wanted to show you, can you go to the first page of this? Is there a first page? Yeah, there it is. So Slack is a messaging app for Teams. And there's the main workspace, which is where all the messages are. You can direct message anybody, and you can also create channels so that you can create channels about topics. I'm just reading projects or teams. And so the way that I've done it is different maybe than other people have done it. And I've also used other people's stuff, but I have a couple channels that I can't live without. But when you make channels, you want to be really consistent about how you write them, because you can end up with a lot of channels. For instance, we have an HR channel, we have a client channel, we have a client issues channel, we have a VA issues channel, a VA channel. We have so many channels, a marketing channel, but it's so that our conversations are saved in these places. It's also searchable, which is great. And you can do also huddling, which means that you can talk with somebody like a phone call, but you just press a button and you can be in a conversation. It also is a video call. So it's kind of like Zoom, except you don't have to use Zoom. And a lot of apps will integrate with this. So Google, all the workspace apps integrate with this. There's so much you can do. So you can connect a lot of things. Can you go to the next page, the cheat sheet? And if anybody wants this, I'll send this to them. So we have some channels that are really important. So customer notes, anytime something happens with a customer, we put it into that channel. And then the person who's in charge of notes, because maybe a lot of us might interact with a customer, but we're not, you know how notes can get lost, like if you got to put them in your CRM, sometimes that doesn't happen. So we put them in a channel and then somebody moves them to the CRM. This is, a lot of these are actually for service business. When I had my window cleaning, I always had an estimates channel so that when my crews went out to do an estimate, they would take the pictures. My VA would do those estimates, put them together and send them off, whether it was, or if it was in Responsibid, for instance, they were doing all of that. Same for Christmas lights. They did all my quotes. They measured roofs. They did all the things that I would have had to have done. You can do all of that online. Anytime there were pictures, I know a lot of people take company cam pictures, but I like to encourage my employees to take cool pictures of views or houses, not houses, sorry, views or animals that are cute or whatever. That went into a social media channel so that we could use that for social media. The most important, there's how-to channels, videos. If you have a business where you want people to remember how to do things, like when we teach people things, we're like, okay, now they know, but you forget. You learned a lot when you're first learning. So you having a how-to video channel, you just plaster some videos in there that they can reference later anytime they want. The Mel's Brain channel is my best invention because I have a sparkly brain full of a million thoughts and a million ideas. But if I was going to, but here's the thing. Do I want to be bugging people at 10 p.m. at night, writing a text to Zoe saying, Zoe, I just had an idea. Don't forget to do this thing. No. So Mel's Brain is a place where things that aren't urgent but need to get out of my head go. And that's where, if there's really a true emergency, which there aren't many true business emergencies, then maybe I'll text if it's something super urgent. Otherwise, it goes into Mel's Brain. Zoe takes everything from Mel's Brain, puts it in my master list, and then does with it what needs to be done. So she might make me an appointment. She might put it on the master list and order it by urgency. Things like that. So there's a lot of different channels. Oh, a weekly meeting channel, very important. If you have a weekly meeting, we always had a Monday meeting. I had created a template for that. And the VA, let's say we had an issue with the client, that goes into the Monday meeting channel because we're going to talk about it at the meeting. Let any testimonials go into the meeting channel so that every Monday we have a list of all of the praise we got, all of the corrections we have to make, anything that we think of can go there so that it's ready to go on Monday morning. So I don't have to create that document or do it on the fly. Your VA can do that for you. And then if there's any important emails that need to be addressed, you can put it in an email channel, but Zoe and I communicate enough. We don't need to deal with that. Next, please, back to the form. I'm like trying to get this through because I know we've been having too much fun. So WISE is how we pay people. If anybody needs that, we'll leave a link in the comments if anybody needs to get that. What's the next one, Zoe? Onboarding. Okay, keep going. So that next thing you're going to do, Dan, because I've just given you a training, you're going to schedule your onboarding meeting. The next thing you're going to do is wait for us to give you the what is it called? The profile of your candidate. And while you're waiting, you're going to create those training videos that we talked about.
Mhm.
If you need them to do any software training, just tell us and we'll add those so you don't have to add them.
Okay.
But
And now one of the things I was realizing is like a lot of the stuff I'm asking them to do, I don't do currently today.
Who does it?
Kevin, who's our office manager, has some things that are like software related things that are
So
on
have
his plate.
Kevin make the video.
Yep. And then I have Bryn, who's kind of my admin, but she's a visionary, which is hilarious that she was my admin. But so she's like getting out of doing administrative stuff for me, and she's just project based, really.
So she should do those videos too. It might
That's
not.
what I
It's
was
not
thinking.
you.
There's stuff where I'm gonna be like, hey, here's the things we need to have our EVA do, but I'm not the one that should make the video because I'm not the one that does it day in and day out.
No. And what you want to do, especially if somebody is getting a general virtual assistant for their office, maybe they have an office manager who's overwhelmed. Have that office manager, as they're doing the task, start making videos, talking about it while they're doing it. And so that the office manager becomes the person, and really it's for their benefit. And a lot of times we have to tell them, people tend to think that we're replacing them, and that's not at all what a VA does. If there's an office manager, you want a VA to do all of the things that the office manager's time is wasted on, so that they can do the higher level things they never get to, the customer care, the things. And a VA can do that too. It just is like whatever the office's manager's strengths are, they should do that, not their weaker things.
Yeah.
So, and once we find you your VA, you're going to look over their information and you're going to say, yeah, this person looks good, or I don't think this is going to be the right one because of their experience with this thing or whatever. Then you schedule your onboarding meeting. During that meeting, that's the meeting where I introduce you both for the first time, and I act as a mediator for that conversation, or a moderator. And you're going to learn about them. They're going to learn about you, and I'm going to call out all of your weak areas in a very kind way.
Yep.
One of the things that's a big struggle is saying no. When somebody's overwhelmed, and that's the way we lose employees sometimes, we overwork them. And we can easily do that with VAs. And one of the things I try to teach in front of you and them is to say, Dan's going to be a guy who has a lot of ideas. And sometimes you're going to be overrun with them and you won't know how to prioritize them, but it's really hard to say no. So instead, you're going to say, Dan, that's great. Where do you want me to put this in order of urgency? Here are the other things you said are most urgent. And as visionaries, especially, it puts it back on us. And then we have to say, oh, yeah, that's not important. Like, these are the most important things. But at the moment, everything is equally urgent to me. Everything is equally important. So having that focus and it's a way to not have to say no to your boss. But I'll say that in front of you and them, because then when she says that to you in the future, you'll be like, oh crap, she must be feeling overwhelmed and overworked. Let me ask her about that. It's a signal. So I teach you and them about people. I try to compress I try to set it up so that you guys are going to be successful. And then we send you on your way, but we still support you. You end up in our Slack channels as a support channel, because you can have your own Slack, but you can also be in ours. And we kind of watch how it's going. And I might interject sometimes, go to the VA and say, hey, I see that Dan's not in here a lot. What's going on? Or Dan, I see that the VA is kind of off with this. Maybe you could message it more this way. I'm trying to help therapy wise, make the relationship better. I'm the mediator. Yeah. And that's my favorite part, getting in people's business and helping make it better. Can I do it for myself? Sometimes, but not usually as good as I can do it for other people.
Isn't that funny? There's totally that. There's totally that. Not specifically for you, but I notice the same with my business. It's really easy for me to look at somebody else's P&L and be like, you need to do this and you need to do that.
Yeah.
You probably need to look into this. And I look at my own and I'm just like, I come up with excuses of why I do that I do them.
Awful. So, and that's the thing. The other thing I want to say again is we are not always perfect, right? We measure our success rate over a 1 month period, because we give you a 1 month period of time to change your VA without having an additional charge. But I tell people in the videos, oh crap, I know what I missed. But I tell people in the videos that you need to listen to your gut. The thing that we always ignore when we hire somebody, because it's so hard to hire somebody and then we're like, oh, I see some signals, but I'm not going to watch those because I believe that this time will be different.
Yeah.
And then but I tell people the minute you feel that way, come to us and ask us about it, because I'll have outside information. I'll have the ability to look at the situation differently. I might say, Dan, it's you. Or I might say, oh, Dan, that's not good. Let's find you a different person. And we will even give you the end of relationship email template. We will give you your first day template. We try to give you as much stuff to make it as easy as possible for you so that they can be successful and you can be successful. So that's the system we've built. Wait, how did I get on that point? Oh, it was because we aren't always successful. We're right now, I think I was excited to hear we're at 86% success rate.
Nice.
But on second time matches, we're almost at 100%. Very few times have we had to go to a third person. And most of the time it's because of something external happening. Like one of our friends, Jonathan, just lost a VA because she'd been waiting on this job for like forever, a year, that has government pension and all sorts of things that she would be a fool to not take.
Yeah.
And so he's lost a VA. And so we're going to help him find a replacement, but it's upsetting. But his training plan is in place. Once you do it, and the cool thing is the next VA that you get, because you'll get more, your executive assistant is going to train that person.
Yeah.
See? So it's not as hard as people think, but it is not easy. I would encourage people, we charge, I think, $22.95, not $22.95, $2,295 for everything we do and all the support. You make that back very quickly if you consider the cost of employee and the investment. But for your audience, Dan, we are going to give you the group discount that we give AMP and other members, and it's going to be $19.95 if they're interested in working with us or even just learning more about what we do. And if they watched this, then they don't have to watch all the training videos, which is a bonus.
It's a double bonus. As
long as they can tell me that they did watch it and actually learned from it. There's two. I know we don't actually have a lot of time because I have to leave too, but can you go to the red flags really quick? This is the last thing I want to go over. So actually, no, common owner issues first. When you don't make time for training, we all know what happens. It doesn't work. I've already talked about micromanagement or lack of management. Sometimes we'll be like, the lack of management is my MO. I'll be like, here, take this and go do it. But I didn't give them enough info. So we have a project sheet that I used from AMP, using that kind of system of doing the project. Don't we have that sheet in BBB? I'm saying AMP so many times, but it's anyway. Dan uses
it's still BBB to me.
Me too. I'm just trying. You're like, who's AMP? Not taking the time to know your VA. They are a human being who has a family. It's a lonely job if they're not working in an office with other people. So creating a connection with your team is really important. Bring them in on the meetings. If you don't explain the intangible things that you need them to do, like this is a great example. I think too fast, so I have to voice memo everything. If I try to write, I get very frustrated and then I just want to hide. But I don't like to listen to voice memos. I only want people to write me back because I skim words. Yeah. Learning that about myself allows me to communicate much more effectively.
So you're saying you're a hypocrite is what you're saying.
I'm just knowing what my learning style is. That's all. It's my dyslexic learning style. I don't know why it works for me, but it does.
Yeah, I got you.
You have to give some level of trust, but we can build trust quickly. Like my email example is an example of building trust. Because remember, they need a paycheck. They're not there to scam you. They need a paycheck. They need to support their family. They take work seriously. If you don't discuss issues with your VA, and I think people know when they're that kind of person, some people don't like to discuss issues at all, but you have to be open in the dialogue about it. And that's a conversation I open up in our onboarding. And you have to be willing to release your tasks to them. You know, delegating is such a hard thing to do. You have to build that trust as well.
Yep.
Last thing is the VA issues, red flags. So finally, if you're VA, you're going to watch for red flags in that first month on that, that probationary period. If your VA is hard to contact, they should be available almost all the time. And when they're not, Slack has a little thing where you can put an icon of what you're doing. So they might show a snack, or they might sit, show a toilet or whatever. It's a way of keeping them accountable to your time, or they might say working on a project. So you need to work for that. Everybody who comes to work for you should have their own equipment already, because it is a job where they know that they have to have equipment. Now, over time, you might want to buy them a new computer because they're amazing and their computer tends to be slower. You can buy them things like that as a bonus, but it should not be an expectation ever. If they can't account for the time that they're doing the work, like if you're like, that doesn't seem like it should take that long, something's off and you need to figure that out, or come to us and ask. And if they're always making excuses, that is another red flag. If they're saying, oh, I couldn't finish this task because this thing happened, we are looking for you to work with proactive thinkers, critical thinkers, problem solvers. They should be solving the problems. There shouldn't be excuses. So that's kind of the standard. And that is my quick overview.
So what, I'm pumped. I'm ready to roll. I mean, I'm
Yay.
already rolling. I'm ready to keep rolling. What's for me personally, what's the next step? So now we got through the video sequence here. Is it like doing the disc?
Delegate. Well, do the disc quick. That's 10 minutes of your time.
Mhm.
Delegate the video. Just send the list of videos you need each person on your team to make, and then give them the link to your training plan and say, hey, I highlighted yellow for all the videos you need to make. Just put the links in there.
Yep.
So that will be easy to delegate. And then once your training plan is just about done, if we've found your VA, we can onboard you. So just so people know, it can take anywhere between 2 and at the latest 4 weeks, because we really care about matching people correctly. So it's not a quick fix for us. We really want it to be the right kind of person.
Yep.
And that takes some time sometimes. So but usually 2 to 3 weeks is our norm.
Jairus chimed in. He said, I feel like it's the other way around for Dan, requesting equipment for Dan.
That's great.
It's fair. Super fair.
Me too. My computer is so old and slow, and I keep refusing to get a new one. I don't know why. I just,
it's hard to, it's just a pain in the butt.
It is.
It's a pain in the butt.
A change. So,
so on my end, is there a link you guys will send me for the specific disc that you want me to fill out so that it goes
now,
into the thingy?
I have a feeling you might already have that link, but we will resend it. Something we're trying to get better at. Yeah, we're trying to get better about text messaging into our system. We're always changing our system and trying to improve it. So a lot of things that people will be like, why don't they do this? Well, because it's really hard to get everything working correctly. So we're working on that, but we will send it to you again, or we'll put it in Facebook Messenger so you can just go straight to that link. And you have your training plan, but if you need the link again, Zoe's going to send it to your Facebook Messenger so you can get it there. Okay. And then once you're done with that, let us know that you've done the training plan. Just tell me you're done. And I'm actually going to move probably make a recommendation or two for you, Dan. We didn't have time to do it right now. Zoe, can you add that to my list of things to do today, later? Of things I think you might want to add to that first list.
I was very gun shy about making like everything urgent because I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but I probably like overdid it. I probably like held back.
You did, but that's okay. So we can actually, for email management, we do teach the VAs our method of training. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to tell them how to manage your emails. Stuff like that, we can insert videos. So if there's anything you're like, I don't have a system for this, ask, and we'll give you our system to just insert it in. Or if you don't have a system, tell them in a video, I don't have a system for this, but I should. Find out from Mel how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm really good at hyper focusing on simple systems that other people can follow, because I won't follow them, but other people will. So in my team. Anyway, so that is kind of where you're at. We're going to I tend to poke people like I did to you, and then shame a little bit, like, you probably aren't even going to do this. You can't tell me what I won't do.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. The funny thing though was when I listened to your message, I was literally going on, like I just laid Crosby down for a nap and I was literally going on to watch the videos. But this was way more fun for me.
Right, it is.
And for everybody watching.
It was fun for me too, because I love this stuff. It's like in my brain. I'm passionate about it. And really what it comes down to, what I just taught you, is how to have a successful relationship with somebody in a different country. Mm-hmm. And all of the things you need to think about. Most of us don't think about these things.
Jairus says hi, by the way. So
Hi, Jairus. Is he your editor? Kabayan, where's that? What's that?
It's like a co-Filipino. That's what we call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Let's friend me. We can be friends. I love having more Filipino friends. I should know some of the language, and everybody spoke English to me. I learned almost nothing. That's my fault, though. I'm not going to blame my team for that. But yeah, so we love working with home service people mostly. We love working with home service people who are serious about actually doing the work, but understand anybody who has a heart for people, they're going to do this easy. They're going to be great. There are good customers and there's bad customers. We tend to have really good clients. I can say that we've had a lot of people, we've worked with a lot of people that are well known in the industry now. I don't want to name names because I'm not a name dropper, but President Donald Trump, we've worked with him. No, I'm just kidding. Have you heard of Oprah? Me too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It'd be fun to work with her someday.
Yeah, I would love to. God. So, but we've done a lot of different industries. It's not just home service. We've done singing coaches and corporations, all sorts of presidents of companies and people who are like solo entrepreneurs. So we do it. Business is business, as you know, Dan.
It is business. It's all just a big math problem.
It's a big
by a bunch of people.
/people problem. Yes. So you do the math. I'll do the people.
Deal.
That sounded wrong.
Deal.
But yes. Okay.
I won't make a joke.
I already did.
Yeah. You beat me to it.
But it was so fun. I loved doing this. It's more fun than poking you on Facebook. And hopefully this helped a lot of people to understand, because they can do it themselves. It's just not worth your time, people. Trust me. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like the odds that you get it right and find the right person and build the right plan and spend the time on them is way smaller.
Very small.
If you don't get to leverage an existing process and system to make
sure. And
you
know this from Blue Skies Recruiting, you know this. So it's the same with us.
Yeah, I even have a recruiting business, and I'm still hiring home service VA for this specifically.
And I've hired Blue Skies before, but it's just about making sure your time is valuable. It's not worth your time to do something where you're not an expert at that thing. And so that's what we do all day, every day.
Hell yeah. Well, Mel, thanks for coming on. Zoe, thanks for orchestrating,
running the show,
and keeping us dialed in.
That's right. Thank you, Zoe.
If you guys want to check it out, go check out Home Service VA. We'll keep talking about it on this show too. I'll like at some point, I'm sure I'll have my VA on the show.
And Angela also has a VA thing that she does. She never talks about it, and I'm not sure why.
She messaged me. She's like, I probably need to talk about that more. So like, if she's on Turfs Up Radio every week with me, BSing. So
I love Angela. And that's the thing. There's room enough for a lot of companies to do this. Everybody has a different process. And mine is based on my business experience as a home service person who struggles with ADD. That's how my brain works. And that's how I made the systems for people like me. So
Angela and I are kicking around because we have this Turfs Up Radio thing, but it's not like, I mean, I love Darren and Hecubus, but we could use a lot of help behind the scenes, like organizing the radio show and the publicity of it. And like, obviously Jairus produces this show, but I think there's a lot of, we need Angela's wizardry and skill sets to crank out some cool radio content. So her and I are chatting about how we're going to do that together.
That's awesome. And she's like one of my favorite people. We met and immediately connected. And the crazy thing is, I didn't even know she had a VA company for a long time. And she didn't know that's what I did either, because we didn't connect on that. So it's just, we keep getting to know each other more and more every time we hang out, and it's cool.
I don't think I've ever seen Angela in a bad mood.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think
she's just a wonderful person. Wonderful person. I love her. And I just saw her speak about courage at QDS, and she blew me away. I loved it. She is my heart lady. She's my kindred spirit. So
I haven't seen her speak yet.
Oh, well, you just wait. It's a different version of her. Just like when I speak, it's kind of the same version of me actually, but a different version of the same version. So
what is it when I speak?
You and I are similar in the way we speak. We're just talking. Like that's
Yeah.
how we speak. We do the same thing. Angela becomes almost like a powerful aura in front. So she's not that way as much in life. And then she becomes like this
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
she's just such a great speaker. I really enjoyed it. And
Nice.
yeah. So now you have to watch her.
I envision me when I'm up speaking is just like a louder, more bullshitty version of myself.
No,
think,
you're perfect because you're talking about something people hate and
Yeah.
you're making it fun. And I told you that the first time I met you, I'm like, oh, he's my person. He made me
you
understand
just talked about
stuff.
numbers and I sat here.
Yes. So you're very awesome with what you do. I'm great with what I do. We all have our things. So thank you for being you, Dan. You are
Likewise.
a blessing to this world.
Thanks for poking me and suggesting we do this thing live. Now I feel like we made some sweet content. We had a bunch of people chiming in and watching, so we helped a bunch of people, and we helped me move this needle along so I can get a darn VA up and running. So
I know I could trick you into it. So
I'm easily coaxed. For anybody listening, I am highly susceptible to peer pressure, and especially reverse psychology. If you tell me I'm not going to get something done, then.
But then I reverse that psychology by saying, and I know that I'm saying this because maybe if I say it, then so it got
you even like laid it all out on the table, and I was well, now I really can't not
gotta go deep.
Do it. Yeah,
that psychology class or two I took in college really paid off.
Look at that coming back into play.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you so much. I am on my way to Boston now. And
safe travels.
Thank you very much. And I hope that you have a great day with your poor baby.
He's at daycare today.
Great.
He's like today was the day. I figured
so you are going to have a great day.
I am going to get some stuff I had 3 great days. I got to hang out with my baby the last 3 days, right? It was a great excuse for some father-son bonding time.
But it never feels good when they're not feeling well. So it's a lot.
You're right.
Child rearing is the worst of all the jobs. I feel like it's very hard. And as they get older, there's less love involved with that relationship from them.
But like it swings back. I feel like there's a period in the teens where love is at its low point, but we've all been there too. And so we know eventually they'll be like, oh shit, mom and dad, I need money. There's that point that comes back and then the love starts to come back.
Pretty much that's how it goes. Yep.
All right, Mel, Zoe, thank you guys. Business nerds, thank you guys all for tuning in. You guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride and go get yourself a darn VA too. Go check out homeserviceva.com. Peace out.
Bye.